Alrighty guys, what is up? It's Daddy here today, and we're going to talk about Detectron2 and specifically how to build out, or I guess set up Detectron2 so that you can use it. And we're going to do that in a Docker container. So this is an issue that I've had over I guess the last couple of months and just several times generally over this project I've been working on. And basically, Detectron2 is really hard to get to work. There's a lot of dependencies, a lot of packages, a lot of kind of complexity to get to work correctly and avoid some errors with versioning and PyTorch and all that other stuff. So anyway, I'm going to put together a video to show you guys how to set it up so you guys can start working with all of the great computer vision stuff that it has to offer. So I think it's a great tool when you can get it working, and it's really great. So I just wanted to kind of show you how to fix some of the woes I've encountered and get using Detectron2. So without further ado, I guess I'm going to start by kind of explaining a little bit about what it is in case you guys aren't super familiar. But Detectron2 is really an open source computer vision library developed by Facebook, or I guess was Facebook, now is Meta, but it's the AI research group that they have. And they were focusing on basically a modular and flexible platform for kind of open source computer vision. So they were focusing on modularity, so they want it to be extensible and easy to adapt for different computer vision tasks. So focuses on including state-of-the-art models. They want it to be very flexible, very performant, have some good visualization tools, which you can see in this kind of image. It does have some pretty interesting visualization tools, and actually there's some pretty good community support for Detectron2. So that's been good. And then finally, it's built on top of PyTorch, or I guess it integrates with PyTorch. So if you're already familiar with PyTorch, then you know a good bit about Detectron2 already. So anyway, that's the intro, guys, and this is their GitHub page. So if you want to go and take a deeper look, feel free. But anyway, with that introduction out of the way, what we're going to do is we're going to hop in and we're going to look at basically my project, or I guess a part of it. And then I'm going to show you that it works. So this is the Docker container, or the end result Docker container I built. It has my project in it. So this is the training, test, inference, all of that, and this is just inference. But I'll run inference because it's faster. But if we activate the Conda environment that I built for it, which we'll go through in a sec. Detron2 v and v, and then we'll go ahead and open this in terminal. Sorry, I gotta activate it again. Conda activate Detron2 v and v. We can actually run, so we'll test this out. Python 3 Python 3 inference .py. And as you can see, everything loads up, and this is one of the challenges is finding the right version, the right Torch version. And then there we go, we're actually running inference. So that's just a quick example that it actually works. And I think there's a couple, just to show you what the project actually can do in a real sense. So my project is just labeling different components of web pages. So for example, in this case, well, we're actually focused on buttons, but this is a pretty good example. So we're looking at logos, different buttons, different sign-in boxes on the page, and so far we've been able to train the model decently, so that it recognizes that there are buttons and input boxes, but it just doesn't label them very well yet. So anyway, this is an example of my project and how you might be able to use Detectron2, but the focus of this video is not how to build with it, it's how to get started and get to the point where you can start writing and using the framework. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and go back to WSL2. Oops, sorry. Here we go. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. I'm trying to get this published as a Docker Docker container on Docker Hub so you guys can access it, but it's taking a while. So anyway, let's go ahead and start by running through all of the commands I've written up, and I'll post these in the I guess a link in the video description so you guys can access these directly. But so the first thing we want to do is we want to create a Docker container. So, and if you're not familiar with Docker, there's a bunch of videos out there, or if you'd like, I can make one. Just leave something in the comments, and I'll make a separate video on how to use Docker and do this kind of stuff. But for now, we're going to just run this command and make a couple alterations. So we're going to set the port number a little bit differently this time because I already have Docker container running on 111. And then we're going to give this another name. We're going to call it test2. And then I just pulled down a stock image of Ubuntu 2204. I'm naming it Detectron2 test. The host name is Detectron2 container. We're going to use all the GPUs available. I've only got one. We're mapping some arbitrary port to port 22 so we can access the container. And then we are setting we want the container to run detached. And then we also want to be able to interact with, so INT allow us to be able to interact with the container via the terminal. All right, so that's a rundown of what we're actually about to do. So let's run this command. And as you can see, we started up another Docker container. So, I'm going to attach a shell this way. The Docker extension here is super useful, but if you'd like to just run the command, you can also do that. I believe we'll just go ahead and show you the command as well. The command is docker exec it, and this is test2. So there we go. We can run that command, and we're doing the same thing. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is anytime that you start up a new Docker container, you want to make sure that you run apt update and apt upgrade. So apt update, and that's going to basically update the packages that can be upgraded. So it's going to see what's new out there that you don't have. And then if you want to actually make a change and upgrade that on your system, you can run apt upgrade. Just for those that aren't familiar with this, kind of explaining this stuff. And we'll wait for that to load. All right, excellent. So now, what we want to do, now that we have this set up, or now that we have the upgrades, we want to install sudo. Or I always install sudo because that's normally comes standard, but since it's a bare Docker container, we got to install it. So now we want to, for me, I always like to install OpenSSH server, or basically install a way to SSH into your machine. So we can do that with sudo apt install open SSH server. Yeah, we want to continue. All right, excellent. So that installed. So now we want to actually start the service. So this is important. Sometimes I forget to do this, but so sudo service ssh start. And okay, so now let's just run a status to make sure that all right, cool. So SSH is running. Now we're able to actually SSH into this Docker container, or should be. The next thing we want to do is we want to add some sort of user. So I am just going to add a generic user, but feel free to add whatever, or make whatever user you want. I'm just going to call this guy Detectron2 user, and the -m flag is going to create a home directory. All right, so now we want to give it a password. So sudo password Detectron2 user. Okay, and I'm just going to make it Detectron2, keep it nice and simple. This is going to be a container that is for generic use, so no need for any kind of crazy password. And then finally, we want to give this user sudo permissions. And by the way, since running as root, you don't have to write sudo. It's just a habit of mine. It doesn't really make a difference either way. So, you know, so sudo group, and then we're going to add to that group Detectron2 user. All right, so now I should be able to SSH into this container. So let's try that out. So let's try to SSH-p port, I believe it was 6512 or 112, and then it's going to be Detectron2 user at localhost. So yeah, let's enter the password we just set. All right, wonderful. So now we're in the container. So for me, the first thing I always do is I change the shell, because I hate working with just the basic shell. I like bash. So you can do that by change shell or csh-s for save, and then bin bash. And then enter your password. Okay, and now we should be able to exit, and then we should be able to log in. And now we're working in a bash shell. So it's a handy little trick there. All right, so now we need to, or I always like to keep track of all of the dependencies and everything in a virtual environment. Feel free to install this in the Docker container, or you can do this on your local machine. You know, whatever you prefer. Or you can use Vim, or you can use virtual env, or any of those other services that do basically the same thing. But so if you don't want to do it with Conda or with Miniconda, skip this step. But for me, I prefer Miniconda. It just makes things nice and easy. So we're going to run wget, and you can find this information on basically just Google Miniconda install on Ubuntu, and you can find all of the steps pretty easily. But we're going to run wget. So it's going to pull down basically the script we need to run. And then we need to change the access so we can execute it. So we're going to run this command. And then finally, we're actually going to run the script itself. And this is going to prompt us to install Miniconda. So in order to continue the installation process, okay, let's review the agreement. Scroll all the way down. Do you accept license and terms? Yes, I do. And then, do you like the default location? So yeah, I always typically leave it as default, but that's up to you. And I always like the base shell to initialize by default when I start a new terminal. So I'm gonna hit yes. All right, so now we need to exit, and we need to come back into, there we go. So that's a good sign, base. So just we'll do a conda, or quick conda -- version. All right, so conda is installed. Now, next thing, we need to actually create the virtual environment that we're going to work in. So conda create -in. I think I'm going to call it Detectron2 venv. And then this is an important step here. We want to make sure that we're going to be using Python version 3.8. This is the version I know works. You may be able to use others, but again, this is kind of a pain, so I like to stick to what I know works and save myself some heartache, if possible. All right, so now let's see if that was created correctly. So let's just take a peek at what we've got, what environments we've got. All right, cool. So that's created. So now let's activate it. So conda activate Detron, Detron2, VENV, perfect. Now, so the next thing we want to do is we want to install PyTorch. So let me see, I have it here somewhere. All right. So what you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to look at this, so let's actually start with how we get there. So let's go to Detectron2. We're going to go to their GitHub page. Okay, and now we want to go to the docs. I'm going to go to installation, and it says, okay, here's your requirement. So we want greater than, or Python greater than 3.8 or 3.7. Okay, so the next thing is we want to install PyTorch. So PyTorch greater than 1.8. So this is a lot, but through a lot of empirical effort, I have found one that I know that works all the time, or 95% of the time. So we're going to use that one. So what we do is click on that link, go here, and then we want previous versions of PyTorch. And this will show you all of the different ways that you can install it. So let's scroll down. It is this one here. So Conda 11.1 with CUDA 111. All right. So we'll go ahead and copy that. Go back here, and then we're going to paste this. And let me make sure that, yeah, okay, cool. We're in the correct one. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the container that's already running. Let me just pull this over to a different screen. My apologies. All right, this is the one that we're actually working in. So let's paste this guy. All right, so it looks like that's successfully installed. It's okay. Now we've got PyTorch. Now let's look at the next step. So this is going to be your friend here, and also this video should help. But the next thing we want to do is we want to look at. It says that we need basically the GCC compiler, or some way to run C and C++ code. So I always like the GCC or GNU compiler collection, so that's what I'm going to use. But I think you can use Ninja or some other things. But in this video, we are going to use the regular old GCC. So the way you install that is install build essential. So this is going to install everything that you pretty much need. All right, so let's double check and make sure that installed correctly. So I'm just going to test and see. All right, cool. So there we go. All right, next thing, we're going to need Git. We're going to need Git in a later part of this video when we're installing Detectron2 itself. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to install Git. So the easiest way to do that is to run this command. So sudo apt install git all. And again, this is going to be another pretty long one, so just bear with me. All right, so now we need to select geographic area. So I am in America too, and I'm in New York. Sorry. So let's try 106. We're not in New York, but I'm in the time zone of New York. Okay, I guess we'll just say 106. Oh, okay, never mind. I was wanting me to go to the end. So 106 is the final answer. All right. Excellent. So now git is installed. So let's just run a git -- version. Excellent. Next thing, we want to install Detectron2. So here's where, so finding the correct PyTorch version was a pain, but this was an even bigger pain because there is a bug in Detectron2 that, at least for me and what I'm trying to write, plagued me. So the bug was the following. It was the prefetch factor 0 issue when running the example. So anyway, in one of the commits, they changed it so that it could be none, but in some of the earlier ones, it has to be an integer. So there's a type mismatch that occurs in the code. So anyway, this is in their issues, and thankfully they actually pointed out what commit number it was. So basically, this is the commit number. So what I had to do is go back and go to the previous commit and then pull down that code. And anyway, to save everybody time, effort, energy, and headache, I have made a separate repository, and that's how we're going to install it. But anyway, so just wanted to share that in case you're curious. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to pull down from the repository I created. We're going to clone down this guy. Excellent. And now we should be able to run this command, and it will install Detectron2, or the correct our version of Detectron2. How about that? All right, so Detectron2 is now installed. The next thing we want to do is we want to install OpenCV. So OpenCV is not really required, but it's going to be super useful for a lot of stuff that you do in and around the Detectron2 framework. So, I mean, I'd recommend going ahead and installing it, even if your particular use case doesn't require it. So anyway, there we go. And then finally, the last error I ran into is this fixed disutils has no attribute version error. So to fix that, we need to downgrade setup tools from, I think it's like 6.5 to 5.9.5. So we're going to run that. Okay, I guess it was 6.8. But in any case, this is the correct, or at least for us, the correct version. So all of those things together should now allow us to run this code. So actually, this is on my WSL machine. This is we're actually SSH'd into right now the Docker container. So let's just do a quick ls. So let's go into. Oh, you know what? I need to actually copy over the code. So let's copy that over really quick. Actually, I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to open this in VS Code so we can see all of this in a little bit more clearly. Okay, guys, so all I'm doing here is I'm just creating a going into the SSH config file, and I'm creating basically a login or a host name for the Docker container that's on my machine. So anyway, it just allows you to open it in its own window in VS Code. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over here. It's the same thing we're logged into now, and I'm going to connect, and I want to open temp2, and yes, Detron2. That's going to open it up for us, and then we're going to open up everything, and then we'll enter Tron2 again. Yes, we trust the authors. All right, So this is the Docker container. And here is where we've installed Detectron2, but we need to actually install some code to run, or like a model to train, or something of that nature. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video, and then I'm gonna install or move that in, and then we'll actually run it to make sure that this works. All right, so we finally got this package loaded in, and all this is some Cocoa files for my object detection, the actual model itself, some helper scripts, and then the actual model that's doing object detection on some Cocoa files, basically, which are just images, and then a list of annotations on the image, or basically a bounding box where a part of the image is interesting, and then the attached label. So that's all we're feeding into the model. And then when the model runs, it's actually going to output, or it's going to output a trained model with a PTH, restore that, and then put out some stats, the accuracy, and so on. But anyway, the important thing today is when we run this, or rather, let's do this. Let's go ahead and open this integrated terminal. And then let's do a conda activate Detectron2 vim. All right. And now we need to cd into model. And now we should be able to run successfully this Detectron2, or script with Detectron2. So let's try that. So it's detectron2.py. All right, cool. Everything's loading. This is a little bit older version of the code, so I may have to clear the memory manually first. Sometimes it fails. But anyway, we'll see. Okay, excellent. So yeah, it's working. It's loading in a checkpoint file, or I guess a file from the model zoo. And then it's starting trim training from iteration 0. So anyway, you guys get the idea. It's working, and we're not getting any of the errors I described. So this is this would save you much effort, a lot of effort. There we go. That's a better way to say that. But anyway, I'll have all these steps in the video description. I'll also have a link to Docker Hub where you can go grab this, and then you can delete this or change it or do whatever you want. But the point is, the container is going to be already set up for you to work with Detectron2 with all of the particular dependencies that are necessary. So, and just one thing I forgot in the beginning, it's already a long video, so I guess I'll say a little bit more. But another thing that's great about Detectron2 is there's so many pre-trained models for you to choose from. So there is not only object detection, but there is instance segmentation, there is key point detection, there's all of this cool stuff. Panoptic segmentation, which I think in the beginning you can actually see. Yeah, there we go. So anyway, the point is, there's a lot you can do with it. So it's a great framework, I think, but it does have its challenges to set up. So that's really the point of this video, is to help you or save you some time in the setup so you can get to what really matters, creating the models that you're interested in. So anyway, guys, I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, drop in the comments. Let me know if you'd like to see more about Detectron2, and I can make some subsequent videos about how to actually use it, and build interesting projects with it. So anyway, thanks for your time, guys, and I will see you in the next one. All right, guys, brief reminder here. If you enjoyed the content, please consider giving me a like and a subscribe so I can continue to grow and produce better and better content for you. If you really enjoyed the content, you might even consider buying me a coffee, and the link for how to do that will be in the video description below. If nothing else, please just give me some feedback in the comments and let me know how I'm doing, if anything's unclear or if there's anything that I can improve on. Thank you again, guys, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.